Aloha, everyone, and welcome back. Thank you so much for tuning in today. My name is Marissa Indigo, and I am called forth to share a beautiful message today celebrating the Freedom Codes. Today is July 4th in America, where we celebrate Independence Day. And this is a very important holiday. And for us, and in our grid work and in our mission work, or whatever you want to call it, of consciousness and quantum consciousness on the planet, we celebrate every nation's Independence Day. So Cinco de Mayo is really important. We have July 4th today. We have Bastille Day, which is the French Independence Day on the 14th of July coming up. And I will actually be in Sedona for that event, doing some grid work with the Freedom Codes. But I was guided to come on and celebrate July 4th and to share some of the codes that I was downloaded with or incarnated with. I'm not sure the best way to say it, but the codes that I have been carrying as part of my incarnation on the planet this time around. Many indigos and indigo sapphires, which is what I am, a sapphire ray, carry these codes of freedom and divine sovereignty. And there are elements of spiritual patriotism kind of sprinkled in with these codes. And I wanted to talk a little bit about spiritual patriotism and what that means to me, to expand this concept. So it goes beyond nationalism. Of course, it does very much involve the United States of America. And I'll share now the transmissions of the codes that I always received of America. Many say that North America is a template for the Freedom Codes or the New Lemuria. Some also call it the New Jerusalem, of unity and kind of the golden age of the entire planet. And so when the British came here and many immigrants came here, there were myths, codes about the streets are paved with gold, the land of opportunity, the land of the free, right? Land of the free, the home of the brave. And so I invite you to just take and look at these words and to just feel them, not from any sense of anything that has ever been broadcast in the mainstream or even in textbooks growing up if you are a US citizen, but just looking at those codes alone, just trimming away any association. That's how we've been shown to work with this information. And I currently live in Washington State. I'm going on my third year here now. And when I first moved here, I thought, this is so interesting. This is the only state in the entire United States that is not a Native American name. If you look at the history of all of the other states in the country of the United States, each state is named with a Native American name, which is interesting. Washington is the only state in the United States named after a president. And so when I first moved here, I asked my universe, I was like, why was this the only state with that name? And they shared codes of Washington. And I don't know if any of you grew up with this. I am an elder millennial, right? So I'm in my 30s, late 30s now. But we would grow up with stories about George Washington and the cherry tree, and codes like, I cannot tell a lie, it was me, I cut down the cherry tree. And the story goes something like he had a fit of rage and he took a hatchet and he chopped down a cherry tree. He took his anger out on the tree and he had a lot of guilt about that and he admitted it. And I always thought that was an interesting story. So when we look at all of these different codes that make up the mythos of the United States, it's interesting to just kind of, again, trim away any of the associations, and to just take the verbiage for what it is and let that really resound through us. So just to share a little bit about my own experience being a US citizen. So I grew up on the big island of Hawaii, which many say, yes, this is an occupied territory, right? It was colonized just like everywhere across the entire planet at some time or another. I actually grew up a minority, and did experience racism as a minority on that occupied land because there was a lot of wounding in the Native people with what had happened to them. And I actually don't have the heritage of the colonizers who did create those shifts, but it was really a lot of anger at the government, which I understood, right? Then you flash forward and I moved to Southern California, And the first almost 12 years, I was almost 12 years old when I moved to Southern California. And the first period of my life up to that time, I was pretty incubated from media. We did not have TV growing up. So I was really on the fringe, very much kind of on the land, off the grid in many ways. And then coming to Southern California and really being thrust in actually with the materialism of the culture. And I did not resonate with that. Flash forward a little bit further, late teens, the programming of the school system, the public school system, was starting to really lay in. And a lot of my family were educators, right? So they all had their liberal arts degrees from university. And I was actually on the treadmill to go that route because I knew I was supposed to be an educator. Just at that time, I didn't know it was going to be actually for the divine in service to mystical information for the awakening, right? At that time, we didn't have access. We were still very much programmed in the program. So in my late teens, I actually did have quite a heavy distaste, a lot of anger really towards the government, not the country itself, but it's that same kind of, for lack of better phrasing, Marxist, socialist propaganda, communist propaganda that really eats away, at society. And we see that pretty strongly now, but the roots of it I was already experiencing on one half of my family side. So I always like to say I'm purple because we have the red, right, and the blue. And I'm a blend of both of them. I don't really ascribe to any ideology. I see what really works well from everything, taking the best of everything and making my own recipe or my own concoction out of it. And as you know, right now, right, as we look at the polarities that are amplifying very much into extremism across the planet. All right, so I've been skipping around a little bit trying to tell this story. So essentially, like I was saying, later on in high school years, it was 2000. It was when we had that 2000 election with Bush, and it was so obvious what was going on that I was just like, oh my God, this is horrible that this is allowed to happen. And like, very much like very anti-government. Um, and that's not to say that I'm pro-government right now either. I'm all about the light leadership, right? And the divine councils, which I think were a lot of the blueprinting originally, which is why we're guided to share all of this. So, really feeling strongly about, oh my gosh, this country is just so terrible. I got to get out of here. And I did. I traveled all over Europe. Thanks to my mom being a teacher, we were able to do some educational tours and really get to see a lot of Europe. We went all over, Italy and Rome, all over France, parts of Switzerland. And then when my daughter was 6 months old, again, went through another like, okay, I'm done with this place. Like the corruption is so ridiculous. I can't tolerate it. And we went and we lived in the West Indies for a little over a year. And that was the island nation of Dominica. And after my experiences of travel, I realized that while there is much room for improvement, which is becoming even more obvious now, right? As everything is in a form of major decay, but it was still the best place to be. That America was still the best place, and there's a reason that everyone emigrates, or the immigrants are coming here, right? Because it's still the best option for all of its flaws. And I still believe that. And so this transmission is really about holding that original divine blueprint. Everything is about the divine blueprint, divine DNA blueprint. And so holding those codes of the original as we are preparing to build all of the new systems and the new councils that will come, the new leadership that will come, that will be much more of a council, right? It's going to be much more balanced. It's not going to be all about the bottom line, right? That's going to be very interesting. And those details have yet to come forth for all of us. But what does come right now is to hold those pure codes and to work with the violet flame and also the rainbow flame to support the continual purification and deprogramming and really pulling out, really extricating ourselves from the old paradigm through our actions, through almost like voting with our money and our, how we are spending money, who are we supporting, what are we supporting. That seems to be a very powerful form right now of taking action. But there will be many ways that we will be guided to take action and to hold boundaries and say no more. with a lot of the abuse that we have all taken and have been seeing, all that corruption. And now we're hearing file corrupt, right? And that's that's pretty much it. We're seeing it, so it's very interesting. And with that, it's not putting down any other countries. I'm just sharing that what I was shown was that there's still so much potential, and it really strengthened what I was given, which is the information that the United States is, and again, some call it the New Jerusalem, but it really is the template for the new world, on a global scale of unity consciousness and divine law. And while it's definitely far from perfect, it's one of the best examples of free people, passionate people, really taking things into their own hands. And we saw that with France too, with the French Revolution, very powerful movements. So that's how I came full circle from basically becoming like a socialist, Marxist socialist in the school system. And also with the half of my family, I had to deprogram that programming of liberalism as well, which was getting more extreme, and yeah, more of that socialist take. And having to just extricate myself from all of those different ideologies, political ideas, and work with the masters and the ascended masters of, well, what was the blueprinting, what was the original intention, and how can we bring that forth, and how do we bring that forth? What do we have to hold within ourselves to be able to maintain and sustain that kind of a frequency of integrity, and to hold the boundary, hold the line, to ask that of others, right? Whether it's people in positions of leadership, and how we are all in leadership positions in our own lives, in our own roles, in the various roles that we show up as in our professional life, with our family. We are all leaders. All of us are leaders. There's just different scales of what we came in to do, right? So anyway, that's about that. Again, flash forward to now, it's very interesting because along the freeways here in Washington, it says the Purple Heart State. Pretty interesting. That ties into military. On my maternal and paternal side, both my grandfathers fought in different wars and were in the Army. So there's a lot of patriotism. Still didn't get the full grip of how much spiritual patriotism there was in my lineage, and why I chose to come into these particular, I call them earthly or Terran lineages, right? The human lineages. So the main human lineages that I have in this life are French and Italian or Sicilian. So some interesting codes just to share about the history of America. The name America comes from an Italian explorer, Amerigo Vespucci. So that's interesting, codes there with the Italian or Sicilian lineage. Then we have Lady Liberty, the Statue of Liberty, a gift from France, greeting immigrants, right, at Ellis Island in New York, right? The colors of the flag are the French colors of red, white, and blue. Very, very interesting. Then we have the goddesses here of Lady Liberty and Lady Justice here in the codes. And some of the codes I've received on the founding of the nation was that it was hijacked, which we see, right? There was a hijacking by a controlled opposition that created a corporate version of the United States. So instead of being Lemuria and the hybrid of Lemuria and Atlantis, so this kind of beautiful melting pot, right? They say the melting pot of all cultures, celebrating diversity, right? Celebrating the rainbow tribe, of which is in the Native American traditions, meaning all of the different races coming together in unity consciousness, right? And so what we were shown was that there was some time where the original founding fathers were connected to Thoth, the higher Atlantis priests. And I kept asking about Washington and George Washington, and why was the state, the only one named after a president, and he's the first president of the United States. And I kept asking for years. So like I said, I'm going on my third year here. And interestingly enough, in my last grid working trip to Mount Shasta, when I went to Mossbury Falls, there is the remnants of the movement. It's still alive. The Brotherhood of the I Am movement, Brotherhood and Sisterhood of the I Am movement. And that's the gentleman who really made Mount Shasta famous for being affiliated with Saint Germaine. Now, I'm not a proponent of that organization. I don't really believe a lot of the organizations that are mainstream that exist right now are pure anymore, which is just kind of how it goes, you know, things get dissipated. But I do think it's very interesting that all of this, the last couple of years of these different codes coming through are kind of tying together. And some of the stories allege that George Washington was an emanation of Saint Germaine. And I thought that was really interesting, and it resonated with me when I look at the original codex of what the United States is set up for as a template for the entire planet to come into the new paradigm. And that's why there's so much contention, right? So much control, so much distortion that we are seeing peaking right now. And so I was guided to share this video talking about the freedom codes, sharing a little bit about my lineage and the lineages that went into this country, the codex, the codices that were coming from different factions of mystery school, ascended masters here that were seeding the country. And that we are here, the star people, many of us carrying these codes to hold them alive while the great shift and the resolution, right, the balancing, the great balancing of the polarities takes place. We are here holding these codes of unity. And it's just interesting because, like I shared, I always have said I'm purple. I'm the purple people party. If I were to make a party that would represent in like an enlightened council, you know, because government means, if you break it apart, it means to rule the mind. Government, mente, mental, right? It means to rule the mind. So all of these systems, we know, it's very obvious, they were hijacked to dominate, control, and divide, right? So it's interesting. And then again, you just look at these pieces like united, we stand, divided, we fall. So to me, it seems that the codes were there all along for us to hold in their highest intention, right? The most high frequency, the highest purity of what the intention was, that this is a new world. They called it that as well, the new earth and the new paradigm for humanity. And of course, a lot of things have shifted in this time, right, to try to remove that. But I was told to come on and to share this. And it's interesting when we tie the purple heart, the purple people party, the freeway signs that say the purple heart state, which also has to do with, that's a high accolade in the military. When you typically, I believe it's when you die in service saving someone else, you get a purple heart. And not always die, but just some real serious sacrificial kind of Christed elements that you do out on the battlefield to protect others, to defend or help others, assist others. You know, you get a purple heart. It's a very high honor in the military levels. And all of that being said, when I would ask, why am I here in this state? What's the deal with Washington? And they would say, well, many of you are here to work with the original codes of the founding fathers. And that brings in Divine Father, Heavenly Father energies, and those archetypes that were present in the founding fathers. But I was always shown violet flame, you know, and most of the time I'm still wearing an Andara that's a violet flame orchid, purple Andara. And yeah, I just didn't receive that last little piece that some allege that part of George Washington's soul aspects was pieces or relation or incarnation, however you want to phrase it. It's just all about energies and the presence of energies and the intention, a pure intention of the violet flame. And so I just wanted to celebrate the freedom codes. This felt too big to put into the whole July energy report. There are some events happening this month where, gosh, it could be its own video, and maybe that's how it's going to go. I just do what I'm told to transmit. But I wanted to share and was told to share, to activate in you, dear viewers, thank you for being here, your own divine ancestry here on this planet, and to celebrate the courage and bravery and passion that has brought you here through your ancestral lineage, whatever countries you come from and wherever you are now, even if you're not in the United States right now, to just know that we are connected as a global tribe, as a crystal village right now in this time through this beautiful sacred weave of intention of what we are building. And the codes of the ascended new earth are here now for anybody who wishes to experience them, to bring them in and through. And I just want to wish you a beautiful 4th of July for everyone in America and everyone all over this beautiful planet. The Freedom Codes, they are here for all of us. There will be many invitations to exercise the throat and to speak and to use the thunder of the voice of the throat chakra to speak your truth or to hold your boundaries, all with love. None of it has to be any extreme of violence or anything like that, but just the invitation of the violet flame to bring that through and to celebrate independence, to celebrate individuality, freedom of thought, also to celebrate differences and differences in values and belief systems and all of that is the individual, right? The ability to have that. And the invitation of this whole month, the 7 is all about the divine and the teacher and the mystic and the ascended teaching, expanding your consciousness beyond. Lisa Transcendence Brown calls them the divinity codes, right? The 7, the sacred 7. So it's a very powerful month to begin to activate more of this consciousness coming from this place of devotion and the unified state, right? So with that, we celebrate these United States and seeing this as a metaphor, a symbol for all of us to have a state of union, of united beingness with our source, with our planet, with our country, with our global tribe. And when we talk about spiritual patriotism, we take it beyond the 3D or the mainstream view, right, of right versus left. Like that's what we're dealing with in a lot of countries right now. The polarity is more, they say liberal versus conservative. Those are just their terms, right? And it's very interesting how they are quantifying, belief systems, right? And so we are inviting that unity to come together through the heart, right? To see, acknowledge, honor all, and to really bring forth those codes of sacred respect and love and truth. And so when we talk about spiritual patriotism, it goes beyond how it is currently branded as nationalism. I guess that's the main reason we were told to come on here. I've never talked about spiritual patriotism before, even though it's something that is very dear to my heart. And I'm very passionate about it in my human expression. And as I explored that, like, why am I so passionate, And it's, we work with Gaia Sophia, so we're passionate about the land. We're passionate about all of creation, all the creatures who live here, including us, the 2-leggeds, right? The human expression, the divine human templates here, activating now. So spiritual patriotism goes beyond the country and the nation to encompass the entire planet and all life here, and our entire sector or galactic quadrant. Sometimes that comes out that way in that phrasing. So thank you so much for joining me today. And the invitation is for this month. And we'll go deeper with this in the codes of the entire month of July, but it's important with this holiday and with Bastille Day also coming up on the 14th, which is the French Independence Day. Very important to begin to consider, to investigate, where do I not feel free? Is it with money and finances and abundance? Is it being able to express myself or be my authentic self around others? There are so many ways that this can show up, right? And the invitation is to start to allow the dissolve. You can invite the rainbow plasma, the diamond flames. Some of those pictures of that solar plasma are in the June to July energy report. June to July transition video. It was just mind-blowing. It was a very emotional day. And those codes came through for July. And a lot of it has to do with the sign of Cancer, which is a patriotic sign. It is about the motherland and our connection to our lineage, our land, our ancestry, the planet herself, divine mother. But in some of those photos, there is this incredible like rainbow plasma. It looks like a flame of rainbow coming off of the sun that we captured in the forest. And that's the kind of energy that we are seeing on the higher realms, if you imagine like a lantern, like those paper lanterns where the holes are punched into that paper, and how the beam of light, there's the shafts of light that are just pouring through, pouring through the layers. And that's what we are seeing is happening right now. That's why things are getting even more squirrely, even more intense, and they will continue. Like we said, summer is hot. We thought last summer was hot. Oh no, we've seen nothing yet. Between the solar activity, right? We just had an X-class flare, and what that is going to be doing to people on a psychological and physical level with their nervous systems, the awakening. There's going to be a lot more of that shake and awake kind of energy. So you're welcome to invite that beautiful kind of rainbow plasma from the sun, these flames of divinity, down and through your life, and ask them to come through, pour through, to assist you in stepping up into your courage, rising up into your courage, your bravery, your independence, your freedom, to expand your freedom where we have kept ourselves small, right? Because it's all up to us at the end of the day, right? So thank you for being here. And I'm actually guided to close this with a decree. So this is the Patriots Decree by Ascended Master Godfrey. And I have quite a few of these books. I actually printed out the PDFs because they're no longer in publication. But this is from Summit Lighthouse with Mark and Elizabeth Clare Prophet. So this is Summit Lighthouse, Prayers, Meditations, and Dynamic Decrees for Personal and World Transformation. So I'm going to be reading from this now. And oh, wow, we're glowing now. Hello. I guess that's the light coming through. So I'm actually going to pause the video now and just read this. So it'll turn into kind of more of an audio format for you. And yeah, please just remember the invitation. Where do you not feel free? Where would you like to invite more freedom for yourself, your family, your loved ones, those you know and love and care about, those you don't know, extending that, what do they say? Certain inalienable rights. Yeah. And the other piece we forgot to mention, this is just coming through. Thank you. They're just reminding me. Law and order, when we talk about that, what we reference, what we are shown to expand this concept to is divine law, divine cosmic law of harmonic, right? The laws of cause and effect, the laws of abundance, the laws of divine love, right? Very powerful. And they supersede that of anything corrupt that has been corrupted by the material plane. And those small minds or closed hearts, shall we say, on the material plane that we see that are not true leaders, that were holding leadership positions, which is all shifting. So thank you so much for tuning in. I'm sorry about the glowing. I can't control it. It's a heart frequency thing. I'm sure you guys have this too, and you will continue to. So thank you very much for receiving me. Thank you for tuning in. I just wish you a beautiful 4th of July. Let freedom ring through you and to your beauty and bounty and abundance and magic continuing to unfold throughout these times. Remember, the intensity and that pressure is to squeeze more of the inauthentic out, so we have more room for more light. So thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you enjoy this, the Patriots Decree. Wherever you are, this is for you. This is for all of us on the planet to engage and put into the land where we are. So thank you, and I'm wishing you all a beautiful day, and I will see you soon for the next transmission. Take care.
The Patriots Decree by the Ascended Master Godfrey. Mighty Goddess of Liberty, Great Karmic Board, Masters of Wisdom and of the Great White Brotherhood and Sisterhood, Cosmic Beings, Archangels, Angels, and Activities of the Sacred Fire. In the name of the mighty I Am Presence, we invoke and precipitate by our consummate decree the mighty constitutional fervor of the early American patriots for and on behalf of America's freedom. Guard, guard, guard our liberty now today. Guard, guard, guard our liberty God's own way. Protect the right by God's own might. Expand the light in freedom's name. Help us to win this game. For America and Saint Germaine, and for the youth of the world. Pass that torch and let it stand, defenders of freedom in this land. Make plain the vision of our God. Across the land extend the rod of I am power. Infuse the sod with light and truth and virtue pure, to help us make this world secure. Against the foes of haughty dread, let their hearts quake now instead. Of those who keep the flame of heaven blazing bright, it is the leaven of the Christ for young and old, for all who would our nation mold. By cosmic power and cosmic might, our torches blaze forth through the night. Disperse the gloom that's hung too long. Within our land, burst forth in song. And here they have an excerpt from America the Beautiful. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Uphold the torch, let none dismay. Uphold the torch, blaze forth thy ray. Our youth lift up in God's own way. Defend the law by Christ's own light. Let beacons blaze by I am light. O God, command and now demand our freedom in this holy land. And in full faith, I consciously accept this. Manifest, manifest, manifest. Right here and now, with full power, eternally sustained, all powerfully active, ever expanding, and world enfolding, until all who are wholly ascended in the light and free. Beloved, I am. Beloved, I am. Beloved, I am.